The chamber was less a courtroom and more an opulent vault. The air held the scent of polished stone and ozone. The human stood at the designated petitioner's platform, feeling the weight of 100 alien gazes. He was a xenobiologist, a quiet man whose life was spent cataloging fungi on fringe worlds. This was not his area of expertise. Across the expanse, the opposing platform held his problem. A young being, perhaps the equivalent of an 8-year-old human girl. She had large, luminous eyes of deep violet and delicate, silver-sheen skin. 2 small nubs that might one day become decorative cranial fronds peeked from her white hair. She wore a formal gown of iridescent fabric. She was also, according to galactic law and the evidence just presented, the sole witness to a terrible accident that had claimed her entire travel convoy. He had found her, the only survivor, clinging to a piece of wreckage on a barren moon. The adjudicator, a tall being with segmented limbs, tapped a chime. The testimony is concluded. The question of guardianship for the minor, designation unpronounceable to human vocal cords, must now be resolved. Are there any claimants? Silence. The child's extended family, notified through proper channels, had sent no representatives. Their absence was a statement. According to precedent, the adjudicator droned, in cases of sentient minors with no present familial claim, temporary guardianship may fall to the rescuing party, pending. The human's heart sank. This was the bureaucracy he feared. The little alien looked from the adjudicator to the human. Her small mouth trembled. Then she pointed a slender finger directly at him and spoke a single, clear word in the common galactic tongue. Dad. The word echoed in the silent chamber. The human felt his blood turn cold. The adjudicator's limb froze mid-gesture. From the shadowed observation gallery, a collective, sharp intake of breath could be heard. The child has made a familial designation, the adjudicator stated, its voice betraying a hint of something new. Not alarm. Perhaps caution. This carries significant legal weight in her culture. A spontaneous utterance in a formal setting is considered binding. It's a mistake, the human said, his voice dry. She's traumatized. She's translating a concept of protector into her own. The record stands, the adjudicator interrupted. Guardianship is provisionally granted to the human petitioner. The court will reconvene in one standard cycle to reassess. The chime sounded again, final. The proceedings were over. He stood there, stunned, as the platform descended. A court attendant, a nervous-looking biped, gently guided the child to him. She immediately wrapped her small, 6-fingered hand around his thumb. Her touch was cool. This is a misunderstanding, he said to the attendant Dot. The attendant's eyes darted toward the shadowed gallery. You should go to your ship. Quickly. They didn't make it to the port. 3 large, sleek vehicles with opaque hulls glided to a halt around them on the polished concourse. Doors opened without a sound. Beings emerged. They were of the same species as the girl, but adults. Their silver skin seemed to absorb the light, and their eyes held no luminous warmth, only calculation. Their clothing was impeccably tailored, dark and severe. One, a male with a single, faint scar tracing one nub, stepped forward. He did not look at the human. He bowed deeply to the little girl. He spoke in their flowing, melodic language. The girl's grip on the human's thumb tightened. She shook her head and burrowed her face against the human's sleeve. The scarred one then turned his gaze to the human. He spoke in common tongue. You will come with us. The matriarch wishes to express her gratitude. I appreciate the offer, the human said, keeping his voice even. But my ship is due for departure. The court's ruling is provisional. A faint smile touched the alien's lips. It held no warmth. There is no provisional. She spoke the word. You are Dad. The family acknowledges this. Come. It was not a request. The other figures subtly shifted their stances. The human, a student of nonverbal cues across species, read the clear message. Resistance would be pointless and probably painful. He and the girl were ushered into the center vehicle. The interior was lush and silent. The girl, he now thought of her as Lily, a simple name from an old earth flower, curled against him, silent. They were taken to a compound that took up an entire spire in the planet's most exclusive district. It was not a home. It was a fortress disguised as art. The matriarch awaited them in a room with a view of the planet's rings. She was ancient, her silver skin like polished platinum, her white hair a majestic cascade. She held a staff of office. Her eyes, the same violet as Lily's, scanned him. "You saved our last blossom," she said, her voice like rustling silk. "The last child of my youngest daughter's line. The convoy was attacked by rivals. She was thought lost. I was just in the right place," the human said. "You were placed there," the matriarch corrected. "By fate or by our own need? The word she spoke in court seals her safety. It binds you to her, to us. You are now her father. This makes you family." "With all due respect," the human began, "I am not. I am a researcher. I have a life." "You had a life," the matriarch said softly. "Now you have a daughter, and a family business to understand." The following days were a tutorial in organized crime on an interstellar scale. The family's operations were vast. Legitimate shipping fronts, cultural artifact exchanges, and then the other layers. Information brokering, territorial disputes settled not in courts, but in quiet rooms. The subtle movement of goods that required discretion. They were not brutes. They were architects of influence. And he, by the uttering of a single word, was now a part of the structure. He tried to leave once. He walked to the spire's main atrium, Lily holding his hand as she often did. 2 large attendants blocked the exit. "It is not safe for Dad to go unescorted," one said. "The rivals who targeted the young miss still seek opportunity." He argued with the matriarch. "I am a prisoner. You are a protected asset," she replied, sipping a luminous tea. "The child imprinted on you. Her mental well-being is paramount. If you were to come to harm, her spirit would fracture. We cannot allow that. Stay, learn, fulfill your role." His role was vague, but constant. He was to be present. He ate meals with Lily, who slowly began to speak to him in common tongue, simple words about her lessons, the glowing fish in the spire's aquarium, her favorite foods. She called him Dad every time. He helped her with basic xenobiology models, using his datapads to show her Earth's ecosystems. She was brilliant, grasping concepts with terrifying speed. He found himself, despite the terror of his situation, smiling at her discoveries. The family watched. They saw his patience, his calm explanations, the gentle way he corrected her without raising his voice. These were not common traits in their culture, where discipline was sharp and hierarchy absolute. A subtle shift occurred. Where once guards merely watched him, they now gave small nods of respect. The scarred one, who he learned was a senior operations manager named Kale, began to brief him, not on family business, but on security protocols for Lily. She must walk in the hydroponic garden daily. "You will accompany her. These are the potential threat vectors," Kale would say, showing him schematics. The human, using his scientist's mind, began to analyze them. He noticed flaws. "The air filtration access point here is a vulnerability," he said one day, pointing. "A microdrone could bypass the particle screens if it used a harmonic frequency against the cleaner's emitter." Kale stared at him, then at the schematic. A slow blink. "That is correct. How did you see that?" "It's a pattern. The emitter has a resonant weakness. My work involves studying spore dispersion through similar systems. His observations, offered sparingly at first, began to be sought. He suggested non-lethal security protocols using bioluminescent marker spores he could synthesize. He designed a communication cipher for Lily's guards based on fungal growth patterns, unbreakable without the key organic sample. He solved problems not with force, but with patterns, with biology, with a quiet, human ingenuity. He was no longer just a prisoner or a father. He was becoming a resource. The matriarch summoned him. "You have a unique perspective," she said. "You see the threads we do not. Our business is pressure and agreement. You see, ecosystems. I want to take Lily to see a real forest," he said, surprising himself. "A living one, not a garden. She's only read about them." The matriarch was silent for a long time. "The risk is considerable. I've analyzed the risk. I can propose a route, a method. She deserves to see more than this spire." He presented a plan. A short trip to a protected moon with a thriving biome. He outlined security using his own designs, layered and subtle. The Family Security Council, a grim assembly of elders, reviewed it. They found no flaw. It was approved. The trip was a revelation. Lily, holding his hand, walked on soft moss under a foreign sky. She saw interconnected life, not isolated exhibits. She laughed, a sound like chimes, and asked 1,000 questions. He answered them all. The family guards, watching from the perimeter, saw the child bloom in a way she never had within the spire. They also saw the human, their accidental dad, keep her safe, engaged, and joyful through nothing more than his knowledge and his calm presence. Upon return, the shift was complete. The respect was no longer just for his title. It was for him that the matriarch met him in her viewing room. The court reconvenes tomorrow.